What's up, everybody? Zach Brunner here from FlurrySports, talking about 7 players I love for fantasy football week 1. I may just be holding this in every video at this point. I'm not sure. But yes, we're talking about 7 players I love for fantasy football week 1. Now, let's set some parameters. I'm not just going to say, hey, I love Jamar Chase. Ooh, that's a really cool, bold take to take. You know what I mean? We're not doing that. We're not doing that today. Now, if you go to flurrysports.org, I wrote 4 stardom situm articles this week, and that's what we're talking about. So players who are on that borderline. If we're talking wide receivers, we're talking about that wide receiver 2 and 3 gray area. I like them more than the consensus, more than maybe where you drafted them at. For running back, I think they could be an RB2 this week. Again, I'm not saying, hey, go out and start Bijan Robinson. I think you should do that too. I'd love him as well. But we're talking about 7 players who I think are worthy of your consideration to start for fantasy football week 1. Now, let's start with Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Make no mistake about it, I'm not a Trevor Lawrence guy. But, hey, I think things are setting up for him to be actually decent this year. Yes, new offense. We'll see how he reacts to it, but it's definitely going to be a pass-friendly offense and a quarterback-friendly offense. Week 1, obviously, good matchup off the gates as well. He gets to play at home against the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to be referencing the Fantasy Pros consensus rankings here. Last season, obviously, I was top 10 for that, so definitely check out my rankings on flurrysports.org, but I'm just going to say where the industry has him, and you can probably assume for every player I talk about today that I'm probably higher on those players as well. Heading into week 1, the consensus rankings has Trevor Lawrence as quarterback 10, certainly way higher than where you may have drafted him at. And that's because of that matchup. Playing the Carolina Panthers, last season, the Panthers allowed a league worst 6 yards per play. Not good. They had the 5th worst sack rate. They allowed a 68% completion rate. Not good at all. I say all this to say Trevor Lawrence is going to have time to throw the football. Now, maybe the Panthers got a little bit better. Not much. I mean, the only way to go was up for the Panthers defense. They are still not a good unit. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have plenty of time to throw the ball in this one. And looking at his receivers, he has both Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas who can beat their defenders deep. So if he has time to throw the football, I think those guys are going to get loose. I think there could be plenty of fireworks in this one. So I think you can start Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback 1 this week. So obviously, if you read my article beforehand and you drafted Dak Prescott, I had Dak as a player I did not like this week. This would have been a player you certainly could have started over Dak, but take a look at my rankings. Maybe there's other players who are ranked below Trevor Lawrence that he could start over. Let's shift our focus to running back. We got 2 here. We're going to start with David Montgomery of the Detroit Lions. Yes, Jahmyr Gibbs is the Detroit Lions running back. Everyone loves the one that everyone's going to talk about. That makes a lot of sense. He's a very good football player, and I think he's going to have a good day as well. But that doesn't mean we need to avoid David Montgomery. He is much more than a handcuff, and let me tell you, he is much more than a handcuff against the Green Bay Packers. I'm a Packer fan. I can tell you how bad I wish David Montgomery wasn't going to play against the Packers. He is a very good football player. Yes, Packers are in the headlines for all the good reasons right now. Packers was traded for Micah Parsons, which was a good trade. However, it made a suspect run defense worse, in my personal opinion, trading away Kenny Clark. Who's the running back that's going to be doing all of the damage between the tackles? That is David Montgomery, running in a Kenny Clark-sized hole in the middle of the Packers' defensive front. So starting off, I think the Lions are going to run the ball with plenty of success in this one. Over his past 5 games against the Packers, David Montgomery has totaled 459 yards and 6 touchdowns. He has had 1 career game in Lambeau where he did not score a touchdown. That was his league debut. First game in the NFL, he did not score a touchdown. Every single other time he has scored a touchdown against the Packers in Lambeau Field. And if you're asking me to, maybe you're in a touchdown survivor pool league and you want to really have a player that you may not use again later, David Montgomery is a good one to use for this week 1. I think he could be very much worthy of your start this week. Consensus has him at 25. I have him higher than that. Take a look at David Montgomery whenever he plays the Packers, but especially right now when the Packers' run defense just got worse. This next running back is certainly interesting. Jerome Ford of the Cleveland Browns. Once again, talking about players I don't usually love. I'm not a Jerome Ford guy. However, we can't avoid this matchup. So Consensus has him at 34 as of writing. That'll probably rise. I am certainly higher than him there. The Cleveland Browns running back room is completely different, and they put a lot of weight on drafting Quinshon Judkins, who still has not signed to the team as of Friday. When I'm recording this Friday at 3 p.m. Central, Quinshon Judkins has not signed to the team. So guess what? He's not on the team. The backfield basically consists of Ford and Sampson. Ford is going to be given all of the carries he can handle. What's the best way to beat the Cincinnati Bengals? It's keeping Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, all of them off the football field. How do you do that? You run the football, control the clock, keep your offense on the field so their offense cannot come on. That's what the Cleveland Browns want to do in this game. They're not going to come out and try to pass it all down the field, try to get huge gains. No, they are going to milk the clock as much as possible, and this is a very good defense to do it against. We saw the Cincinnati Bengals defense get absolutely embarrassed in the preseason. One of the worst run defenses I have seen in some time. It was the preseason, but I don't think re-signing Hendrickson is going to make them that much better. So I really wouldn't overthink this one. If you are a little bit worried about that RB2 spot, if you're looking for a flex, whatever it may be, Jerome Ford's going to get all the carries he can handle in this one. In an ideal situation for the Cleveland Browns, if they can execute their game plan to absolute perfection, Jerome Ford could push for 20 carries in this one, because guess what? They don't need to worry about him holding up over the full season because their starter is coming back. That's Judkins. He's coming back. And they want to run the football. They want to control the clock. They want to run all over this bad run defense. And I think they may be able to do so. Let's talk about a Friday night football game. Not sure how I feel about it taking the spotlight away from high school football, but hey, the Cincinnati Bengals and Los Angeles Chargers are going to be playing over in Brazil Friday night. And I love Xavier Worthy this week. Xavier Worthy certainly gets the bump early in the season with Rashee Rice being suspended for 6 games. We saw how good Xavier Worthy was to end the season last year, and obviously that was without Rashee Rice. He was hurt at that point. Over Xavier Worthy's final 6 games of the season, this is including the playoffs, he had 63 looks, 6 touchdowns. I define a look as a target or a carry. These are the number of times he could potentially touch the football, right? So 63, that's over 10 times per game. He had the potential to touch the football. So no wonder it led to a touchdown per game on average. This week, Worthy has the consensus rank of 17. He could certainly smash this, in my opinion. His hype has continued into this offseason after that really good end to the season. His teammates keep talking about how much he is going to be used, how good he has looked, and the Chiefs desperately want a big play threat. Well, I think Xavier Worthy is certainly the best chance for them to do so. He's going to catch the football wherever, all over, and they just want to get him in space because of that speed. And guess what? He's going to carry the football as well. I would not be surprised if he carries the ball 2-3 times in this game. Los Angeles Chargers defense, I think they are average at best. I think they're going to play physical. They're going to play tough, but I think the edges of their defense are suspect. I think their corners are suspect. So Xavier Worthy, I think he's worthy of your start. How about that? Let's talk about McMillan. Tetairoa McMillan, the rookie for the Carolina Panthers, coming into a situation that is good. And he is the expert consensus ranked number 20 wide receiver of the week. He plays at Jacksonville. Jaguars defense isn't anything to write home about. Hell, they're trying to force a wide receiver to play cornerback there, right? Hey, and he will be a part-time cornerback, but even still, I don't love this Jaguars defense, and I love McMillan. He's a big, long, smooth athlete. Think of maybe Drake London-esque for McMillan. And in terms of how this receiving core is shaken out, I think he's going to see all the targets he can handle. Adam Thielen, traded away. Jalen Coker, all of a sudden on short-term IR. So, not many players to receive the football. And if we think the Jaguars offense is going to be good, then I think Bryce Young is going to be forced to throw the football just to keep up in this game. Last season, the Jaguars, bad. They allowed a 67% completion rate to opposing quarterbacks, and they are allowed a league worst 7.5 yards per pass attempt. Even Bryce Young can take advantage of this defense, and I think he will. If McMillan's going to see as many targets as he can handle, I mean, think about how Neighbors was force-fed the football last year with the Giants. I think we could see a similar thing with McMillan if the Panthers are forced to be pass-happy in this game. Little sneaky shootout game maybe potentially, because I think both of these defenses are bad, And I think McMillan, more than worthy of a wide receiver 3 start for your team, potentially the whole year. But I think he can push for wide receiver 2 this week. Okay, maybe my favorite position to talk about, tight ends. Let's start with a grizzly old vet, and then we'll end with a rookie, Zach Ertz. This is going to be somebody I talk about to exhaustion this year, same way I talked to exhaustion last year. He is the expert consensus tight end 17, and I would love for anybody to explain that to me. Zach Ertz is force-fed the football. Zach Ertz is Jane Daniels' best friend at this point. Zach Ertz is the straw that stirs the drink for Washington. Not really. That's Jaden Daniels. But Zach Ertz is the most reliable receiver for Jaden Daniels. And how about this first stat about Zach Ertz last season? He was targeted 91 times. 91. That's his most since 2021. Obviously playing under Cliff Kingsbury. Same thing with Washington. Over 68% of his catches last year. 68% of his catches were either a touchdown or they were a first down. So this is a guy who's extremely valuable in this Washington offense. To think he does anything different this year, that would be pretty surprising. He is the guy when things get tough, on third downs, whenever, they're looking to Zach Ertz. We got Terry McLaurin streaking down the sideline. That's great. That's outstanding. But Zach Ertz is that reliable, easy throw underneath. And that is going to be there in this one as they play the New York Giants. Giants defense, say what you want. I think their front four might be the best in football. They are a very, very good defensive front that is going to get out after the passer. What does that mean? That means they're going to be in the quarterback's face quickly. And if they're going to get the ball out quickly, do you think it's going to be a huge deep shot to Terry McLaurin, or do you think it's going to be a short dump off to Zach Ertz? I can tell you what it was last year. It was that dump off to Zach Ertz, and I think we're going to see that quite a bit again in this game. So look for Ertz, especially in PPR leagues, to be valuable once again this season. And for week 1, out of the realm of possibility that he gets 6+ catches in this game, I don't think so. So definitely look his way. Okay, we're going to end with a rookie tight end. If you like this video, if you have suggestions for more videos, definitely comment below. Comment your teams. We're willing to rank them as well. Give this a like, subscribe, please, because there's going to be more content on this channel going forward. But let's talk about Tyler Warren, because this is a tight end I absolutely love. Tyler Warren, consensus ranked tight end 11 this week. And like I said, I like him even more than that. He plays the Miami Dolphins. Now, rookie tight ends are scary to play. Brock Bowers seemingly broke that curse and completely reversed everybody's thoughts about that last season. Now, I wouldn't go that far, but I will say Tyler Warren is a playmaker. I think the Colts drafted him to be a playmaker. They're going to move him all over the lineup, and they're going to force feed him the ball. And Daniel Jones, not the greatest quarterback. Bold take, I know. Not the greatest quarterback, and he is going to be more than willing to take the easy throw underneath to Tyler Warren. But we saw Tyler Warren, what he can do in the preseason. Tyler Warren's going to line up in the backfield. He could get some carries. He can streak down the middle. He can do those short crosses underneath. He can block. He can do everything. He is going to take advantage of this Miami defense that last season, Miami Dolphins allowed the 4th most targets to tight ends in the NFL. So, guess what? He is going to be force-fed the ball no matter what. And then this matchup shows that they're going to force feed targets to tight ends anyway. So I think Tyler Warren's going to see a lot of volume in week 1, plenty of volume, enough volume to be a tight end 1, more than worthy of your start for week 1. I love Tyler Warren, and maybe you can buy low before week 1. Buy low on this guy. He went late in drafts, especially if you drafted earlier in the preseason. So if you can sneak a nice little cheeky trade for Tyler Warren right away, I think you should do so. But yes, those are 7 players I loved. Go to FlurrySports.org. All those stardom situm articles are there. So you just heard a lot of the players I loved. There's a lot of players I don't love this week. Go there and read about them as well. My rankings are up there, my award-winning rankings. If I want to talk about myself for a second, ranked top 10, number 6 actually, overall for in-season rankings last year, top 10 for draft rankings, top 5 for running back rankings, top 5 for wide receiver rankings. And this season, we're only going to improve. We're going to go up and up and up. I was number 1 overall for most of the season, and then shit the bed with quarterbacks at the very final week. We're not doing that this week. We're not doing that this year. So guess what? Buckle up, subscribe, and stay tuned for more great analysis. How about that? See you then. Bye. Fuck yeah.
Tetairoa